In this demo, I'll be sharing ISO 20022 payments transformation solutions. I'm using a tool called Transformer from a company, Trace Financial, which is a Red Hat certified ISV to do the data mapping and transformations. My scenario here is taking the old payment format MT103 and transform it into MX-PAX008 so that we can extend to the new Swift standards formats, which is based on the MX message standards. The output of this transformer is a Java jar file, and this jar file will be uploaded into an asset repository. In this case, I'm using Nexus. On the other hand, developers can build the integration flow and endpoint, checking into the source code of a Git repository. Here we have Visual Studio Code as the IDE for developers. Red Hat Fuse is used to build the integrations, and it is based on Apache Camel as the integrations framework. And Git will be served as my Git repository. A CI/CD pipeline is then used to build, package, and containerize the transformations microservice, following by deploying into the SIT and UAT environment. I'm using OpenShift pipeline, which is powered by Tekton, as my CI/CD engine. It is possible to extend to more environments, and you may explore using Argo CD as well. But I'm not covering this today. If you are interested, you may visit another video in my channel about the CI/CD with Tekton and Argo CD. This is my demo environment setup. In order to demonstrate the demo using an UI, I purposely built a web UI to upload the sample input file. This input file will be deposited into IBM MQ, and my transformation microservice will pick up the input and do the transformations. In this case, is taking the MX-PAX008 and transform into MT003. Then it will put back into another queue in the IBM MQ, and again we will download the output file from the web UI for this demonstration purpose. On top, you can see I'm reusing the monitorings and also the observability components from the OpenShift, as well as the logging from the OpenShift as well. This is the transformers that I was talking about, is desktop IDE tool. They are out-of-the-box messages you can make use for your transformations, especially when it comes to Swift standards or any of the ISO payment message formats you need. So MT103 is one of the messages I'll be using in my demo. We can look at the definition of this. You can see it clearly defines all the blocks, all the fields required for this MT103. So you can straight away make use of this for your mapping of transformations. This is how it looks like for the data mapping. On the left is the message that you want to transform from, and on the right is the message format that you want to transform to. And in the middle, we can see all the mapping logics here. We can build if-else conditions into the formats. Immediately I highlight any of the mapping here. You can see on the left and also the right, which indicates which message is copying from and which message is copying to, right? In some scenarios, you may want to put in some fixed values, for example this. So for here, I actually define the F as the default values to copy into block 1 applications identifier, which is again highlighted over here as the MT103 message standards. So this is where you define all your mappings for all the fields from the left to the right. After you define all these things, you can do some unit testing within this tool itself. So here I show you how I can quickly run a test. So previously I already prepared some sample data to do the testings. So this is the sample input file I have, right? You can browse to your existing file that you have, or you may actually edit or create a new one on the spot. After you input the input file, you can click on these run test buttons. You will run a unit test and it will generate the output file here. So you can take a look on your output file and validate is it correct based on what your expectation. After you have tested this, the last step is to expose this as a jar. So we come to here, right click, build expose services. So here you will fill up all the options required, the project key, the versions, and notice on the values down here. So this will be the path after you have exposed or built the libraries, and this will be the file name of the jar file. So we will be uploading this jar file into the Nexus repository for building together with the fields. This is my Visual Studio, and I'm using this as my fields project developments. What you're looking at is the fields prompt files. There's nothing special if you are familiar with fields or Apache Camel developments. These are the libraries required for the Apache Camel and fields itself. A few libraries I want to point out here is, in order for the fields or Apache Camel to work well with the transformers, we need to include a few transformer libraries, for example runtimes, as well as these currencies. Again, these two libraries will be available in the Nexus repository. And we also need to include specifically for the projects that we were building using the transformers. And remember, we actually exported and we defined some names, some versions, and the jar library will be again uploaded into the Nexus libraries. And in this case, I also include the IBM NQ library so that my microservices can pick up the input file from an IBM NQ and then put back on the output after the transformations. This is a sample of the Apache routes. So I have my error handling coding here to take care if there's any, for example, transformation error happens, and this error handler will capture that and put into the date letter queue. So here are some of the other routes to pick up the files and also connecting to the IBM MQ. Especially I want to show you is this. This is where the coding of calling the transformers from the jar library that I was building using the transformer. It's very simple. You just use this syntax and point to the name you define and also the services names of the transformer. Right? Now, this is my OpenShift. Before I show you the microservice, I actually would like to show you some of the utilities that I'm using in these solutions. For example, I have a git t here. So this is where I check in my source codes. And my CI/CD pipeline will actually pick up the source code from here to do the compilations and also the packaging. Then I have the Nexus repository here. So here I have defined two JBoss repository. This is for the compilations of my fields. So inside here, I have two libraries, which is required for the trace, the currency libs, as well as the runtimes that appear in my POM. And especially for the transfer projects, we have this mxmt version 1 and the JICE is available here. So the idea is when the analyst has finished building the transformations, let's say version 2, they can easily using maybe a Maven tools to upload, or actually they can come to this UI here and manually upload as a newer versions. Now let's look into my SIT. So again, for this demo, I actually has IBM MQ here. This IBM queue serves as the message queue in between for picking up and dropping the input-output files. Let's look at my microservice. So this is the web UI I was talking about. For this demo purpose, I can just use this web UI to upload a sample file. And this sample file will be dropped into the MQ and then picked up by my transformer microservice and do the transformations. Let me try upload the sample data I pre-prepared. Upload. Okay. If I do a refresh, you can see immediately the output file is being processed, transformed, and we were able to download from here as well. Okay. So this is how it looks like for the input file. It is a MX XML format file. Okay, let's go ahead and download this. Okay, so after it transforms, this is how it looks like as an empty 10 message. Okay, in terms of monitorings, I have installed the Fields console. You can use Fields console as one of your monitoring tools, and it actually captures all the routes informations, the exchange, the messages that has been passed through to the routes. But one thing about this Fields console is that it actually monitored by containers. So if you scale your microservice, in this case this transformations microservice, to more than 1, 2, or 3, you actually see the list of the containers here. So you do not get a holistic views of all the containers informations. Same thing if that containers has been deleted or scaled down, and this Fields console will not able to provide you the informations. It does not have the some sort of like histories, right? So for these scenarios, I'm actually making use of the OpenShift monitoring capabilities, right? So I have pre-configured the OpenShift Prometheus. To pick up the Apache's informations. So there's no necessary for you to install a separate monitoring tools. We can just make use of this Prometheus out of the box defining these are the users, these are the applications that I want to collect the information as well. Okay. At the same time, we can make use of the alerts within the OpenShift itself. So in this case, you can see I actually define a field under the user. Okay. And these are relating to the camera services that I have deployed. For example, if that camera service is down after certain minutes, the alerts will be raised as a critical severities, and the administrators or the user of the OpenShift platform will immediately see these alerts in the dashboards or under this. So there are others camels alerts that I have defined. For example, if the exchange has encountered failure, right? Failure that has been handled in a couple of minutes, mean processing time is more than maybe 3 minutes if you define it, and also the availability of the service, right? All these things can be defined using the OpenShift alerts. So on top of that, I actually deploy a Graphana to collect all these metrics and also informations from the fields, so that it provides us a holistic view of all the containers or all the pods, right? And also save the histories of all the metrics. So this will be serving as a very good tools for us to have a holistic monitoring view. So if I look at the transform route, so I just uploaded a transactions a while ago, right? Let's go ahead and try upload another one. Input to upload, refresh, so you can see we have two transformation happen. I go back here, yep, you can see we have total of two transactions. Let's try upload with a wrong format file. Okay. Upload, refresh. You can see the output is append with a extension of ERR to integrate this error at the transformations. If we go back to our dashboards, we can see the field handled transactions has been increased 1. Because I designed the microservices to handle the failure using the error handler, that's why it's flagged as a failure that has been handled, right? So this is for the Prometheus. We also can make use of the alerts from the Prometheus, from the Graphana, where we can define and integrate to other channels for the notifications. Here we have like email, where we can integrate to an email server and send out the email if there's any failures or any rules that you have defined based on your alerts. There are others integration channel like Google Hands Up Chat, Kafka REST proxy, dropping an event into a Kafka, Microsoft Teams, Slacks, Telegram, etc. Now, in terms of the logging for troubleshooting purpose and also monitoring, we are making use of, again, the out-of-the-box OpenShift logging capabilities. So from here, we can go to our applications. We can view the logs. Okay. But this is again just based on these particular containers. Right? It does not keep track and also show you other containers when you do scalings or failover, so and so forth. So in this case, we can actually view from the Graphana So here you can search based on all the logging of all the services, regardless of how many pods or containers you have scaled up. Okay. Last I want to show you is the pipelines. Okay. So this is a simple pipeline I have here, which it uses the OpenShift build to pull the source code from the Git repository and download the libraries from Nexus, then build and containerize into microservices. Subsequently, it will do the deployment into my SIT and also the UAT environment. Of course, you may include more tasks in this pipeline, for example, static code analysis, container image scanning, integration, so on and so forth. This CI/CD plays a very important element in the solutions because the payment message format or standards are rapidly evolving and changing, while the integration flow or the endpoints may remain unchanged most of the times. Business analysts can update the changes using the transformer tools and then upload the jar file into the Nexus repository. Pipeline is then triggered to automate the whole CI/CD task here. This does not require any of the developers to make any code changes or to be involved in the packaging or deployment process. There are other demo videos in my YouTube channel if you are interested to explore. Do like the videos and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for your support.